What's going on, y'all? It's Papa Bear here, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Epic Adventures. Anyone that hangs out or hangs around the hiking community will hear of the name Cheryl Strayed. She is the writer of the book Wild. And it's interesting when you actually look at the movie, or if you decide to actually read the book like I did, well, actually listen to the audiobook, you'll find out that Cheryl Strayed read a book. Well, first she saw it, then she read a book about the PCT, and that gave her the wild idea, get it, wild, to do the Pacific Crest Trail, and then later on in the years, write about it. Even though she did 1,000 miles, the process of her reading the book sparked her journey, and thus having her be able to deal with the drug addiction, having her be able to deal with the loss of her mom, the loss of a marriage, you know, the destruction of her family as she saw it. And if you haven't had a chance to go out there and read the book Wild, you should. I'm not getting paid at all for this, but I think it's a really good book. I've listened to it twice on audiobooks, and it to me speaks to me on different levels. How does that correlate regarding today? Well, as you see below, there are 5 books talking about hiking or outdoor stuff. This last one right here is a Special Boy Survival Guide book, as you guys can read. And I'll talk about why this is important at the end. One of the things that got me into, well, actually no, I'll talk about this now. What's triggered me getting into backpacking was being a prepper, a survivalist. And so my wife bought this for me for Christmas because I was looking online for a lot of stuff. And so she bought this for me for Christmas, and I started reading it. Now, granted, I haven't had a chance to practice any of these skills because I don't have woods in my backyard, like in my immediate backyard. But one day I plan on doing that, like going off in the woods while camping, practicing these skills, showing these skills to Julian, you know, or him showing it to me since he's a Cub Scout, and go from there. But what got me started was being a prepper, being a survivalist. Okay, from there, I ended up getting this book right here. Long time ago, and I apologize for the lighting, but hiking and backpacking. For us, first it was hiking. I was still in the mindset of being a prepper and a survivalist, but I wanted to go hiking with my son and my wife. And part of it was because we were broke. You know, having a kid at age 25, you know, on a one-income family, you don't have that, you know, expendable income as you did before you have a child. And so we were limited on funds at the time, getting used to having a son, didn't know the tools, the tricks, the trades, or anything like that. And so we took that opportunity to get outdoors, do something that's affordable. It's all about spending time with the family. So we did that. And so this got me to here. And so while reading this, I saw that the section on backpacking was very good. It sparked interest into me. And then in here, it talks about the Appalachian Trail, the PCT, and the CDT. So I looked up the AT first because it was the least amount of mileage when I sat back and thought about it. And then when I started looking at the AT, I started becoming very intrigued about it. I don't know what really bit me, but it did, and it bit me hard. So after I got into this and I got into, I got to start backpacking, for some strange reason, fortune came into my life, and my wife and I had the opportunity to go to the Smoky Mountains. And so that's what we did. We were able to go twice to the Smokies. The first time we went, it was a free stay at a cabin. We liked it the first time so much we went back the second time. On the last day in the Smokies, I saw this book, and it spoke to me. And so I picked it up. And so I do plan on going back to this, the Smokies. I want to hike all the Smokies because it's like the Don Mecca in my mind of how hiking can get real, you know. So I read this, became very intrigued with it, and that right there set me on to backpacking. So after the Smokies, I got him back home. I needed to know anything and everything about backpacking. I needed to be the best at backpacking. And as most people, when they get into backpacking, they overdo it, and I overdid it. But that's okay. You learn. You have to go to that natural progression. Very few people do that because they normally either have past experience in backpacking or they have someone to talk to about backpacking. For me, my knowledge was very limited on who I talked to about backpacking. So what do most people do? They go out, they grab a book. And I went and grabbed this book. And so this book got me, you know, which, no offense, yes, I did have this book. This book gave me the basics right here. This book was like advanced knowledge. And there's a night and day between these books in regards to information being passed. Still good information overall, but this one I felt it gave me more, something to like pull off of. You get what I'm saying? And so I read this, was like, oh man, I love this book. I really want to get into backpacking even more. And it gave me a good chunk of knowledge. The way they explained things to me was very useful. As you can see, you got the the pictures in here and whatnot. And my bookmarker. And so I set off and I would read this book at least 15-20 minutes a day before I go to bed. And yeah, that got me started. So now I got started in backpacking, and I noticed that I was carrying a lot of stuff with me. And again, I didn't want to always look on the internet, because sometimes I wouldn't have the capability to have internet. This is before I really got to smartphones. So I ended up picking up this book, Lighten Up, which makes me to a light or ultralight backpacker. Now, first off, let me say this. Right now, in my stage of my evolvement in backpacking, I will never be an ultralight backpacker until they learn how to make synthetic that is extremely light, i.e. my sleeping bag, or if they make a tent that's extremely light and inexpensive. I will always be a traditional backpacker, and I've learned to deal with it. That means I have to stay in shape. So moving on from there. But this book was very helpful for me. I was able to learn some things on how to lighten my load, how to pack, you know, how to use certain things a certain way. And so, which brings me to this book right here. I've read all these books. I read them. I even read this one too. But by the time I got finished reading these books, including the Special Force books, I've had 5 books that I read. I haven't gone backpacking yet. Haven't done a single thing. Okay? And you can only read so much book before you start to live the life. In one of my videos I talked about just get outdoors. That was more a message to myself, not just to you guys, because when I was younger, I always thought I had to do a big prep to get outside. I mean, here's the proof right here. I read 5 books before it took me the courage to get outside and do this. And yeah, I did the things inside the house. I tested my gear, pitched my tent, slept outside, found out what worked, what didn't. And doing your testing inside is very important. I can't tell you how important it is. Lord, I learned. I'm glad I did it. But it was this book right here that set me on my way of getting outdoors. I always wanted to go to Shenandoah National Park, and that's because of Big Rag, Old Rag Mountain. And I kept pushing it back every year. But I ended up picking this book. I don't know why, but it spoke to me. And I picked this book up. And when I picked it up, I turned. I've been looking for the next trip. I turned to a page, and it empowered me. My wife, when we were young. It empowered me to stop sitting on the couch, stop planning and just put my desire in action. And that's what I did. That's what this book did to me. It was able to pull the rug from under me and said, hey, there's only so much you can do to build a strong foundation. But how do you know how well it's gonna work if you don't test it? And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about generally, overall, is that books are very powerful. Talking to people is nice. Having a community to speak out with or speak to is nice. But books, since their creation, have been the things, I honestly believe, that has gotten people to take the leap, to take the journey, continue their learning, their progression, their evolution. And so, I want you guys, for anyone that's new to backpacking, to go out and buy, rent, borrow a book about backpacking. Read it. Even if you know some of the information in it, read it. Expand your knowledge. Because knowledge is power. It is power. I thank this book every day for the reason why I'm getting out. And I'm doing what I'm doing now. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get out there and actually do the Shenandoah like I wanted to. I ended up doing the C&O Canal, but you know what though? That's okay. The first plan failed. I rejocked, and I went back out there, and I did it again. And it was the best experience of my life because a lot I learned on the C&O Canal. There's a lot I learned on that canal. A lot. So now, where does this come in? Now, I think this is a good book that every backpacker should have because there's skills in here that we all can use if we ever get ourselves into trouble, because we turn into a survival mode. The difference between special force survival and then regular survival mode is that special force survival, you're trying to aid and evade. With regular survival, you're trying to be found. So there's some things in here that you're gonna have to be mindful of in regards to what you want to do to stay alive and be found. But the big things that I like about this book that it talked about: collecting water, making shelter, land navigation, and first aid. Those are the things that I think that are very, very important. And making fire, excuse me. Those are the things that are very, very important that every hiker, every outdoors person should have that knowledge. Now I can tell you straight up, I suck at making fire. I can collect some water though. I've gotten good at collecting water. Maybe one day I'll show you guys, you know, some of the tools out of here, how I do it. First aid, I'm okay on. You're only as good as your last first aid emergency, and I really haven't had one. So, you know, but I'm gonna be definitely working on fire for 2019. So that way I can keep myself alive. So with that being said, all in all, get a book, take a look. Is reading hiking books. Get a book and take a look. Is reading hiking books. With that being said, thank you very much. It's Papa Bear. I hope you like this content. Please share, subscribe, and as always, comment. And if you have a book yourself that you enjoy so much that you want me to take a look at it, let me know. I'll probably end up going down to the library, picking it up, and having a wonderful day. And if I like it so much, I might buy it myself. So with that being said, hike your own hike. I'll see you guys outdoors and go hike yourself. Peace.